The hunt for Gollum has led you to the south, and you are now approaching Raros Falls in the nearby Hills of Emyn Muil. Hello and welcome back to the Line Unbroken, my series in which I am playing through each of the scenarios of the Lord of the Rings living card game in turn, using only cards which were available at the time of the release, in imitation of the existing progression series. Here I am for the fourth scenario of the Shadows of Mirkwood cycle, the Hills of Emyn Muil. So for our setup, we have to search the encounter deck for Amon Hen and Amon Law and add them to the staging area, then shuffle the encounter deck. This has been automatically done for us, and so you are certain that Gollum has fled into this area, and you must explore until you find the fresh trail. Forced, if there are no location cards in the staging area, the first treachery card revealed during the quest phase gains Surge. Players cannot defeat this stage unless there are no Emyn Muil locations in play and they have collected at least 20 victory points. So this is why this quest is incredibly boring, because this is the only quest stage. Once we complete it, we have won the game. It doesn't actually tell us that we win the game when we defeat this stage, but we do. There are no other quest stages. Look. No other quest stages. So all that we have to do is explore 20 victory points worth of locations, and then have no locations in play. Which, it makes a certain amount of sense. You're scouring the Emyn Muil for signs of Gollum, and you have to make sure that you've essentially been everywhere, so that you can be certain that you have found the signs you're looking for and haven't missed anything. But in practice, this means that all you're doing for this quest is exploring locations, and that's basically it, which makes it just incredibly tedious. That said, here we go, Control N. Draw an extra card over here. So, I cannot afford Steward of Gondor yet. So, I suppose actually, under the circumstances, I am going to pay one leadership resource for a Dunedain Mark on Dun here. So maybe he can kill something in the staging area if we actually find enemies. Otherwise I will play nothing from deck 1. Now over here, let's see, I suppose, actually I want to save up resources for these northern trackers, which I will be able to play with the Songs of Travel. All I could actually afford is a Burning Brand, which I don't think I really need that much. So, X is double the number of players in the game, so each of these are 4 threat, meaning a total of 8 threat is sat in the staging area. But we shall quest for 1, 5, 7, 9. We are probably questing unsuccessfully this round, though of course both decks can discard cards to Éowyn. So, let's do this. Rockslide, deal 2 damage to each character committed to this quest. Well, I suppose we'd survive, but I would still rather not, so I will play a Test of Will to cancel that. And the second card of staging is the East Wall of Rohan, which is another 4 threat, so that's a total of 12 threat. Well, I don't have a secret paths or anything in hand, but we can discard cards to Éowyn's ability, and I would rather not raise my threat by too much, so I'll discard a Burning Brand, because there aren't that many enemies in this quest, and there are 2 more copies in my deck. Over here, I'd like to hold on to my threat reduction, to be honest. These are location control, this is important. Oh, I forgot to trigger Theodred's ability. He was going to give the resource to himself, so that he'll be able to afford Steward of Gondor next round. I'll actually discard a Dwarven Tomb, thus boosting my willpower to 11, so each deck will raise its threat by 1. Now, as far as travel goes, I don't want to treat attachments as if their printed text boxes were blank, because that would mean Steward of Gondor wouldn't work, whereas being unable to play event wouldn't be a total disaster. So I think I will travel to Amon Hen. Alright, there is no combat. Denethor will scry the top of the encounter deck. You see Impossible Chasm. When revealed, if there is an active location, remove all progress tokens from that location and return it to the staging area. If no location is moved by this effect, this card gains Surge. I don't want to add that 4 threat back into the staging area, so I will move that to the bottom of the encounter deck. Incidentally, note that this is again an incredibly large encounter deck, just as the one for the Journey to Roscabel was, so you can have very wildly divergent experiences in playing this quest. Alright. This deck is now first player and draws a card. So I think I will under the circumstances, I think I will pay 2 for Gleowine and I suppose then I will bring in a Gondorian Spearman. And leave it at that. Meanwhile, over here, I will pay 2 to make Eowyn the Steward of Gondor. I'll immediately exhaust that to give her 2 resources, and then I will spend 4 resources for a Northern Tracker, which, as I said in the article, is all I really need for this quest. Now we're back to 8 threat in the staging area. So let's quest with, well, actually quest with Gleowine. Rather than using draw cards, since we're a bit threat heavy in the staging area right now. I will give the resource from Theodred to Beravor, because next round I will be able to play a Song of Travel on her, and she will have 1 more resource, so she can put in another Northern Tracker to try and get all these locations explored as quickly as possible. This Northern Tracker triggers to place 1 progress on each of these locations in the staging area. I'm questing for 1, 3, 5, 9, 10, 11. It's better. Deal 1 damage to each exhausted character. And card 2. Dol Guldur Beastmaster. We actually found an enemy. So, as it stands, I will make 1 progress on the quest, well, on the active location. I don't really feel the need to make any more than that. because the Northern Tracker will clear this next round, thus seriously reducing the threat in the staging area. And, well, all this is doing is preventing me from playing events. The only events I currently have are Threat Reduction, which is not urgent, and Strength of Will, which only applies after travelling to a location. So I think this is fine. The engagement cost on the Dog-Builder Beastmaster is 35. Both my decks are well below that, so I will leave him in the staging area and simply have done here attack into the staging area. While attacking into the staging area, he gains +1 attack. He also has +1 from the Dinner Day mark, so he's attacking for 4 against 1 defense and does 3 damage. Next round, he can kill the Beastmaster. At the end of the combat phase, I will have Denethor scry the top of the encounter deck. The Highlands. 1 threat location, it has victory points, that is fine, I will leave that there. Control N. Alright, looks like there's nothing really to play over here. Anyone can have another couple of resources. Now, I want to think about possibly drawing some cards over here. There is currently 10 threat in the staging area, but it will go down to 6 as soon as I commit my Northern Trackers to the quest. I will be questing for 1, 5, 6, 7. No, I think I'll leave it at that. But over here, from Denethor, as planned, I'll put the Son of Travel on Berevor and then have her spend 4 resources for a Northern Tracker. So now let's quest. Triggering both these Northern Trackers, put 2 progress on there. 2 progress on there, though it only needs 1. It is added to the victory display. As we see, I have 3 victory points out of the required 20. So I'm questing for, what was it, 1, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11. First card is the Highlands, as I knew. And, the Orc Horse Thieves, doomed 2. These are the one enemy that specifically comes from this quest, and they get +1 attack for each location in the staging area, so they're obviously intended to be a bit of a challenge, in that if you have a bunch of locations mounting up in the staging area, they'll be hitting incredibly hard. But the thing is, that is only going to be a problem if the quest is going badly for you. If the quest is going well, they will probably, well, I mean, look at this, they'll be swinging for 3 as it stands, which is not too bad. Denethor could defend it. So, yeah, they're not as big a deal as they were possibly meant to be. Plus, I can keep clearing locations. This obviously will be instantly explored by a Northern Tracker next round. So, we've got an extra 4 threat into the staging area. But I think that's fine. I'll make another 1 progress here. and done here. Can attack into the staging area. He is attacking for 4, and so he will kill the Dog Builder Beastmaster. Let's take that staging threat down again. Glaewine will exhaust to draw a card on this side. Test of Will, very nice. And Denethor will exhaust to once again scry the top card of the encounter deck. Eastern Crows, I don't want to deal with that, and it's not a location with the victory points, so I'll move it to the bottom. We hit Control N. This deck is first player now. Descendant of Thorondor, potentially handy. I'll need to drop this deck's threat at some point if I want to keep the Orc Horse Thieves up there. I have nothing else really to spend my resources on. Let's just quickly trigger the Steward on Eowyn. Again, once my Northern Trackers trigger, this will be explored, and this will be explored, leaving me with 3 threat in the staging area. So, let me think, how much will I be questing for? 1, 5, 6, 7. I can possibly spare Berevolf for card draw. So let's do that. Alright, nothing special. I will still play nothing from that deck. Over here, I suppose, let's pay 3 for the Gladrun's Greeting and drop this deck's threat down to 28. And that will be it. So we quest 1, 5, 6, 7, 9. I place 2 progress here, 2 progress here. These are both explored. I now have 9 victory points. And we reveal another copy of the Highlands. See, this is the thing. This travel effect could actually be problematic sometimes, revealing another card to just replace itself instantly. But if you have Northern Trackers, you never need to actually resolve that travel effect. You just explore it in the staging area. And the Necromancer's Reach. Under the circumstances, actually no. I'm going to hold on to my Test of Will as a safety valve for when something would actually kill characters. So I make 5 progress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have the 1 required progress on this quest card. I've explored this location. Okay, at this point, I will now, at the end of the quest phase, trigger Denethor to look at the top of the encounter deck, move the Necromancer's Reach to the bottom of it, alright, Glaewine will exhaust to draw a card over here. Oh, it just occurred to me, I technically couldn't play that Gladrun's Greeting earlier because Amon Hen was preventing me playing events. However, I could have just played it immediately after exploring it. I will not travel to the Highlands, and I will not engage the Orc Horse Thieves. Done here, we'll attack into the staging area for 4 and put 2 damage on them. And then we control in. Right. Nothing I'm particularly bothered about here. I will pay 2 to put Calabrian Stone onto Theodred. And then that, I think, will be it for both sides. So questing for 3, 7. I may just leave it at that 7. You see, because of the effect here, if there are no locations in the staging area, the first treachery revealed during the quest phase gains Surge. So, if I quest with my Northern Trackers, of course I don't have to trigger their response, it's optional, as all responses are. But if I did trigger it, well, the point is there's not much point to... They only have 1 willpower, so there's not much point to questing with them if you're not going to trigger the response. Anyway, I did trigger the response, I would explore this location, and then there would be no locations in the staging area, so treacheries... well, the first treachery would gain Surge. I don't want it to do that, and I don't actually need progress here, so I think 7 willpower against 4 threat is probably reasonable. This also means I'm risking less characters to treacheries and so on. Do 2. Out to 7 threat, and Rock Slide. Test of Will. This is why I saved it, because I knew, of course, that Necromancer's Reach last round would not kill me, whereas a Rock Slide would. So I break even, which is fine by me. That Rock Slide, of course, did not surge because there was a location card still in the staging area. Unfortunately, there is still only 1 location in the staging area, and this is where the quest gets boring because I need to find more locations, and I'm subject to the whims of the randomness of the encounter deck, which has over 50 cards in it. Now have Denethor ascribe a top card. Alright, that's a location, that's fine. I'll have Berevol draw 2 cards over here. Okay. And I'll have Glaewine draw another card over here. Okay. And then I'll have done here attack these all cause thieves, dealing another 2 points of damage. So Control N. Right, this deck is first player. I'm going to pay 4 tactics resources for a Descendant of Thorondor. Deal 2 damage to these all cause thieves in the staging area. Other than that, I think I will save my resources. Over here, let's pay 1 spirit resource for an ancient madam on the highlands. And then let's pay 2 spirit resources for an unexpected courage. Done here. Oh, Actually, no. I'm going. Although it may seem an odd move, I'm going to put the unexpected courage on Eowyn, simply because this will make her essentially immune to the Necromancer's reach, because she won't be exhausted after questing. So, 4 threat in the staging area. I'll quest. For 8. Doing 1 progress here, so up to 15 victory points. And this deck can draw 3 cards. Right, and of course I know from my use of Denethor last round that the first card of staging is a location, so I don't have to deal with the Surging Treachery. Neither of my decks has a threat of 35 or higher, so there is a total of 5 threat in the staging area. We put an extra 3 progress on here pointlessly. I'll have Denethor take a look at the top card of the encounter deck. Beastmaster, not a location. What were my victory points again? 15, I think. Yeah, 15. Yes, now let's have Barivol draw 2 cards over here. Glareone draw another card over here. Done here will attack into the staging area, dealing 2 damage. And I hit Control N. Trigger Steward. Pay 1 for another Dunedain Mark on done here. So he now attacks for 5 into the staging area. I can afford a second Northern Tracker on this side. Now over here, well, let's pay 1 to put this Song of Wisdom onto Brand, so he can contribute to paying for some of these lore cards. We have 4 spirit resources for another Northern Tracker, and the quest is basically at my mercy at this point. With 4 Northern Trackers on the board, I can instantly explore this, except that I don't want to, because then the first treachery would gain Surge. Let's see, I think I will then spend 4 lore resources for Haldir. And so then I'll quest for 10 willpower, thus placing 3 progress on Raros Falls, but not actually exploring it. And we reveal another location, and another location. Right. Now, yes, I have 15 victory points at the moment. Raros Falls 3, and the Outer Ridge is 2, so that would take me to the required 20. So now I just need to not get any more Emyn Muil locations. This is not an Emyn Muil location. It is specifically Emyn Muil. This is just a regular location, so it's fine. That is an extra 4 threat, so I put 1 more progress on there. I will choose to travel to the Outer Ridge. Doesn't have a travel effect, nope. I'll then exhaust Eowyn to play a Strength of Will and put 2 progress onto the Outer Ridge, which immediately explores it, giving me 17 victory points. And I'll have Dun here attack into the staging area, doing another 3 points of damage. Behor and Glarewarming will combine to draw 3 cards over here. Okay, I was mostly looking for the Test of Will, so I suppose I only needed the 1, but I didn't know that in advance. And Denethor will scry the top card of the encounter deck. Now at this point I want to avoid locations, so I will actually leave those orcs there. Although actually, oh wait, it actually doesn't matter. So, Control N, draw around an extra card. Trigger Steward. I'll play nothing over here, and I will play nothing over here. I mean, I could play plenty of things if I really wanted to, but none of it matters. Committing character to the quest, I'll commit this Northern Tracker and no one else. I'll trigger his response, add this to the victory display. I have at least 20 victory points, there are no Emyn Muil locations in play, and I have the required 1 progress on this quest stage, and as such I have now completed this stage and thus won the game. I don't need to resolve the quest phase. Of course, if things had continued for longer, I could have committed more willpower. I had a test of will in hand. I could have used this dwarven tomb to retrieve another copy of Test of Will. Ancient Madam could have gone on that location before I explored it. There's a bunch of stuff I could have done. I just didn't need to. No, I was going to engage these horse thieves and have them get killed by a spearman. So, yeah, okay, this is somewhat of a contrast. Journey to Rosgabel, in the last video, like I said, you kind of want to hang around on stage 2 digging out the Athamas, but I ended up not needing to. I only had 3 completed rounds. Here, you really have no choice. You have to dig out those locations, and you're at the mercy of the randomness of the encounter deck, which is why it took me until round 8 before I actually won the quest, which is why this score is so high, relatively speaking. And yeah, it seriously is just a very boring quest. You get Northern Trackers into play, and then you just... Well, I mean, I never had regular combat. That's partly because I specifically built so that I wouldn't have to have regular combat. But it's still ridiculous. And this is the nature of this quest. You explore these locations, and if there are no locations, then you just have to sit around for a while. And yeah, let's see, is there anything else interesting in the encounter deck? I have that. More rock slides. Okay, that potentially could be horrible. That could actually punish you for incautious northern trackering. But in general, it's not going to be an issue. And of course, there are more locations. So, the odds of you finding those 20 victory points of locations in a somewhat timely fashion, not that bad. But really, I mean, look at how few enemies there are in here. It's locations and treacheries all over the shop. Very few enemies, which makes for a fairly boring quest. I mean, yeah, the only problem I had, of course, was with the treacheries, which meant that, of course, Eowyn was actually 1 hit point away from death, and well, as was Brand, Beravor and Theodred were 2 away, so I had to be a bit cautious, and kept triggering Beravor and Glaewine over here to draw another test of will. But I mean, well, yeah, there are other quests that have direct damage effects like that, and there it's significant enough that you probably want to make sure you have some healing so you can heal it up. Here, a few treachery cancellations. This is the worst I've ever seen it be when I've played this quest, though admittedly, because I find it quite boring, I don't play this quest a lot. And I still managed fine. The encounter deck was smaller, of course, smaller and more consistent, then maybe it would be a serious issue. But of course then I still could have edited this deck to include some Daughters of the Nimrodel, so I could have healed up my heroes, and maybe some of the Northern Trackers might have ended up dying, but I mean, I had 6 of them, but doing the 2 decks, I could have managed. Regardless, insofar as it is possible to derive enjoyment from this quest, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will return for the next one, which will be the Dead Marshes and less boring. Goodbye.